Hey, Professor Myers. I'm going to be speaking to you today about the book The Voice Catchers by Joseph Turow. I'm Greg Smith from your Monday, Wednesday, 8 p.m. Marketing Concepts class. I'm really excited to get into this book. I thought it was a great assignment and definitely one of the most informative pieces of reading that I've done in a while. I think the science fiction and dystopian aspects of it were pretty clear to me. I guess what I'm trying to say is that I had many of my greatest fears about the voice industry realized in the text of this book. I find it very concerning the way that our voices can be used against us and the sort of tacit lack of privacy that we've engaged in by allowing the voice industry to grow as it has. First of all, I'm going to speak a little bit about Toyota, the brand, and how it could benefit from using this voice technology and what it can do to differentiate itself from other car makers. And then I'm going to get into more of a societal sort of exploration of what we could see coming down the pike as the voice industry becomes more and more prevalent. So for Toyota, I can see a real opportunity. Toyota's got a great brand, especially for the outdoorsy type in the 4Runner and the Toyota Tacoma, which we can see well represented in our state of Colorado. I think that the voice assistant use will come to every car. I think it's the most obvious first use case of having a voice assistant or having voice tech in a certain context, right? We have a problem where people use their phones. And so how do we get them to put down their phones? We make everything that they would do on their phone in the car available to them by voice. And I think that's a great opportunity, first of all. So I don't want to be such a Luddite. I'm not scared that this technology exists. I think I'm more fearful of the way that people will use it and use it against consumers. The way that Toyota could differentiate itself is by being extremely transparent with its data use and privacy and having lots of controls that the user can engage with on how their data is collected, stored, or not stored. I think having a strong cachet of trust from users could actually bring consumers from other car brands who they're more suspect of and more suspect of how they're using their data and voice to Toyota. So when Turow is speaking about Mercedes and the executives are like, well, we're a car company, we aren't going to sell the data from our voice assistant because we make cars. But I think it would be kind of naive to suggest that car companies won't end up selling our data and eventually keep us sort of you can see the lifetime value of a customer being related to how much data they might give you. And when they think about the lifetime value of a customer, that also changes the price of the car, right? The price of the car and all these other sort of factors on down the line that are real business decisions that can affect not only the business, but us consumers. So I think that every car company will adopt a voice assistant. Toyota can really differentiate itself by creating a system whereby users can actively engage with their data, decide what they want to have stored, decide what they don't want to have stored. And I think that would make them much different than other car companies operating today in the voice space, who essentially don't inform us at all of how they use the data that they're collecting or what kind of data they are collecting. I want to get into a little bit about another positive aspect of this. Besides being extraordinarily transparent and front-facing with their data use, Toyota could create a program with insurance whereby your monthly payments on your car or your insurance premium are tied to how willing you are to be recorded while in your car. Of course, that data could be used to make that data could be used to make insurance claims much easier. You can imagine a crash, right? And the insurance company wants to hear the data, the audio data from the crash to kind of identify exactly what happened and it could be really helpful. Could save people lots of money and time. And in special occasions, you can imagine a serious crash, um, paired with voice data sending out a calling EMS, right, emergency medical services, to the location. So in that kind of automated sense, when the driver is incapacitated or can't get to a phone, we could see people's lives being saved by a voice assistant. And I think that's really positive. So I'd love to see Toyota come out and be super forward facing about their data collection and what that is and how they're using it. I think that would differentiate them a great deal from these other companies. I was surprised by a few things in the book. One of them is the incredible invasiveness of these companies. Amazon's Alexa, Apple's Siri often record us even when we don't intend them to, specifically don't intend them to, right? There are moments where Apple's Siri watch has recorded and stored people having intimate relations in their house or arguments, and those are not consented to, obviously. So these kind of glitches or bugs in the products seem to be ongoing in many ways, and the book really created quite a bit of evidence, I would say, to suggest that actually the devices are listening to us whenever they want, and they kind of turn on at the drop of a hat, not necessarily at the literal drop of a hat, but certain keywords. I think, as you said, you might go around the house spewing intent just to turn them on, and I thought that was pretty funny, but also kind of scary, because they probably would turn on and start recording us. This gets into kind of one of the other things from the books that scared me is, as our voice becomes a personally identifying piece of information, it also becomes kind of part of what governments do. And I think the point I'm trying to make here is that there's this corporate government overlap that's really scary. As these corporations become more and more involved in our lives, and they surveil us, and they give us information, and they give us propaganda, and they store our personally identifying information, they become more and more like governments. Joseph Turow's got a few great points about censorship and propaganda being disseminated by these devices. Of course, you would never create a device that spoke badly about Apple or Amazon, and I think it's pretty clear that they're doing these things, and that's really the purview of a government. It's not that I want to live in a state that has lots of propaganda or censorship or any of these, or surveillance, but when we give away our right to privacy to these companies, we are essentially kind of becoming citizens of them, because they own our data and then they sell it, right? They sell our information, which is about us. It is our thing, right? And I think that's extremely scary. And getting into the censorship bit, one of the things that will happen is, as voice assistants become part of the classroom and the home, they'll start to help us parent, but they'll also teach us everything. They'll teach young children how to interact in the world. And that will, in general, flatten us out, right? The hardest things in life are important to struggle with. Understanding our emotions, understanding how to parent, how to make friends, how to do all these things is actually, it's kind of up to us. It's really the most important part of life, is to struggle and then succeed. I don't want to go over the 10-minute mark, but I can see how the children and education system, or children and our education system, could, with voice-enabled technology, eventually become this kind of surveillance guardrail consumer manufactory, where humans are really only seen for their economic value, and that's the stuff of dystopia. I'll leave you with this. Aldo Leopold wrote a Sand County Almanac about a while ago, and this excerpt, I think, is really important, and it's very close to my heart. he speaks of meeting these two men. They're fresh out of school and soon to enter military service, and they paddle and camp each day on the river. It's this essay where he meets two young men about to join the army, and they're on a canoe trip. And he says to those boys, the elemental simplicities of wilderness travel were thrills because they represented complete freedom to make mistakes. The wilderness gave them their first real taste of those rewards and penalties for wise and foolish acts which every woodsman faces daily, but against which civilization has built 1,000 buffers. And this is the ultimate buffer. If you could be told beforehand every time you made a mistake, you would never make any mistakes. And I think that's really, really dangerous. Thanks so much.